Hey there, folks. Dave Paulides. Can-Am Missing Project copyrighted edition for our video page, and the backdrop is beautiful. Glacier National Park. We're at a county park just on the outside of Glacier filming today. And yeah, I could sit here all day and just gaze at it. So first of all, last couple of weeks I've gotten more letters from people who didn't know not to buy on Amazon, and they paid over $100 per book, and I felt horrible for them. But I've got to make this announcement at every video, and that is, do not buy books on Amazon, eBay, etc. People just ripping you off there. We don't sell there. We only sell through our website. It's under the first comment on this video. If you look, shows a list. In fact, it'll show a list of everything, our missing person website and where to watch our movies, etc. You can do me a big favor, because I know a lot of people go to Amazon to read the reviews on the books, because there's a lot of them. If you have one of my books, if you could go write one of those reviews, I'd be grateful. The more reviews we get, the better. People seem to think that the more reviews you get, then the more popular the book is. That's totally not true when it comes to my books, because a lot of my books aren't even listed on Amazon. The only reason some of my books were listed on Amazon at the beginning, we were with CreateSpace, an independent book publisher that was the owner of Amazon, and they required you to list it on Amazon. Well, I listed it, but I never sold there, so for what it's worth. Just because East and Western U.S., Missing 411 East and Western U.S. have a lot of reviews, it has no indication on the number of book sales. It's weird, but that's the way it is with mine. A lot of you have asked me to put up audiobooks or ebooks. We're members of an author's forum. The minute I put those books up as an ebook or an audiobook, they're going to get purchased by a pirate site, and I'll lose the copyright, because they'll put their books up and just give them away, put my books up on their site and give them away for free. And it would cost me tens of thousands of dollars in attorney fees to get them to take them down. I don't have that kind of money. Big book publishers have a staff of attorneys, so they can go fight that. I can't. So I can't really do an audiobook or an ebook. Sorry. We've got some really interesting cases for you today. And really the first interesting thing that comes up is a letter. And it has to do with the YouTube I did before this about the missing trucker who disappeared on I-5 in California. Says Dave, I'm writing to share something with you that I never thought I'd share. While over-the-road trucking, team driving for Covenant Transport in March 2009, we were on I-80 about 2 hours outside of Cheyenne, Wyoming, heading westbound. It was approximately 3 a.m. and my team partner was sleeping in the sleeper bed while I drove my shift. I noticed and passed an orange-colored orb looking light on the right side off of the interstate a little ways. I passed it at highway speed. Highway speed there is probably 75 or 80. The next thing I knew, it had caught up with me and traveled there on my right side for a few seconds beside the passenger door, then took off up into the sky in front of me. I drove on for a few minutes, watching it through the windshield. Then the truck engine stopped running. I pulled to the interstate shoulder. Now, if you remember on the California case, the guy was partially on the shoulder and partially in the right lane, almost like his engine stalled. Now, being a MUFON investigator, I know that a lot of people have reported engine failures, or the car is just stopping when they see a UFO. So this is interesting. I drove on for a few minutes, watching it through the windshield, then the truck engine stopped running. I pulled to the interstate shoulder. I tried to restart the engine multiple times and it would not start. I remember putting the emergency flashers and left the headlights on so we could be seen by any traffic that could come upon us for safety purposes in the darkness, though we were the only truck vehicle I had seen coming or going on the interstate for many miles. When you break down in a semi, the next step is to get out and put out the safety triangles behind the rig. I don't remember getting out of the truck. The next thing I do remember is my team partner hollering my name. He had gotten out of the truck and was yelling my name over and over. The next thing I knew, I was about 60 feet in front of the truck, walking down the side of the interstate towards Cheyenne. He ran towards me and yelled, "What the hell are you doing out here?" It was so cold that his breath was leaving vapor as he spoke. I then noticed that I was so cold I was shivering. I did not have a coat on, and it was very cold weather, even though there was no snow on the ground. He said again, "What the hell are you doing out here?" I said, "I don't know." "What were you looking at?" I told him, "I don't know." We both looked up and around in the sky up and saw nothing and decided we'd better get back into the truck where it'd be warmer. There was no moon, and it was very dark with millions of beautiful stars in the sky. When we got back in the truck, he said, "Start it and let's go." He was full of questions. He asked, why did I stop and turn the truck off? It dawned on me then that I didn't turn the truck off and that it had quit running and it wouldn't restart, and I told him that. I didn't tell him that I did not remember getting out of the truck and walking away. He asked me if I was all right, and I said I seemed far away. I said, "Yeah, I'm okay though," and I was feeling a bit dazed and foggy. He said, "Well, start it and let's get going." Truckers don't want to waste a lot of time standing on the side of the road. I told him that the engine had quit and it wouldn't restart. He said, "Well, try it again now." I tried to start the truck again and it started. We turned on the heat and hit the road again, heading for Cheyenne. He told me that the silence and non-motion of the truck woke him up, and he noticed that I was not in the truck and saw me walking down the highway in front of it with the headlights looking up towards the sky. He sat in the passenger seat for a bit and we talked some as my driving shift would end in another hour or so. Then he would take over driving his shift. I told him that I'd seen a bright light and I was checking it out. I didn't tell him that it zoomed up beside the semi and followed us before zooming past us and up into the sky, zipping and darting around like any normal aircraft couldn't do. I didn't say any more about it after that, since I figured he would just think I was nuts. I noticed that the speedometer in the truck was not working after the roadside ordeal, and that the electronics on the dashboard had some quirks that weren't working normally also. But the truck was making miles behind us, so we kept on going. When he took over his shift driving an hour out of Cheyenne, I got into the sleep berth but was not able to sleep. I had too much on my mind. After we delivered our load in Cheyenne later that day, our dispatch had us take the truck to Freightliner of Cheyenne for the speedometer repair on the truck, also to get preventive maintenance while we were there. We had to get a hotel since the repairs took a couple of days to get the parts, and was glad to sleep. The second day I was able to get some rest at the hotel. It didn't strike me at the time, but when we picked up the truck, the mechanic mentioned that he had to replace several sensors that were either no longer working or had issues with making the truck run normally. There are also questions that have run through my mind just recently. If I had been a solo driver and someone had not been there to wake me up and see me walking away, calling my name almost in a trance, what would have happened? Would I have joined the missing 411 club? Would I have been found dead? Would I have disappeared forever? I was 49 years old then. I'm 61 now. I'm a solo driver before doing team driving for a few years then, and I've been a solo driver again since 2011. I have a service dog that rides with me now. I pray a lot and talk to the Lord Jesus Christ and call upon his name constantly, asking for his protection as well, as guidance and protection of his guardian angels. I've had many weird things happen to me off and on through my life. In my younger life, at age 19, I had a sighting when I was in the military in which me and several GI friends lost approximately an hour's worth of time after seeing a UFO land below some treetops just past where we were partying in the woods one Saturday night in Dover, Delaware, in '79. Thinking about it since then and often hearing your story about other truck driving incidents in California, though I remember this truck was still running when the CHP invested his truck, sitting half in the lane and half on the shoulder. Is it possible that my sensor functions after the incident could have been caused by the orb light? Yeah, it's possible. Years have passed and I have a friend and neighbor who is also a mechanic, and I've talked to and have asked questions about high electromagnetic fields and auto sensors. He tells me that yes, electromagnetic fields will certainly affect sensors, and if it is high enough, it could certainly make them stop working or become dysfunctional. Of course, I have not told this to anyone until writing this to you, Dave. This also makes me wonder about the human brain coming in contact with high electromagnetic fields. Will it make us dazed or confused? make us go into trances and do things we don't remember, like get out of our trucks and start walking down the road. I don't know any scientist to ask, but maybe you do, Dave. Do the orbs have travel in vortexes that could have electromagnetic waves around them? Yeah, good question. It just makes me wonder about the time in 2009 since I watched your video that mentioned the solo truck driver that is found dead by the lake and leaving a semi running beside the road on I-5. In looking at this map, I don't see any water, ponds, lakes in the area off I-80 where my orb incident happened. Is what happened to me that early morning what happened to this truck driver that ended up dead in the lake? Could I have been the victim of abduction that early morning? Anything is possible, and I am sure we will never know. Dave, thanks for all your hard work and what you do with what you were doing. Most sincere condolences about Ben. Just so you know, it doesn't ever get easier. You just get tougher. That's my experience and how God works with us. Respectfully. So I read that letter because it makes a lot of sense to me. And being in MUFON, I've read so many stories of people who have seen orbs driving up and down on I-5 in California and on other highways throughout the U.S. It's not an abnormal occurrence. And I know that truck drivers out there, the men and women that really service our community and keep us in food and stuff, I know that those people see some of the weirdest things imaginable driving late at night and watching coast to coast, listening to it on their radio. Yeah, it's a weird thing. But it does make you wonder if she could have been a statistic if her partner hadn't come out and yelled at her. Well, today we're going to talk about 3 cases on an island, Vancouver Island. If you've never been there, gorgeous. Remote, parts of it are just pristine. And parts of it don't get many people. A lot of strange things have happened on that island. Vancouver Island is just west of the shores of Vancouver, British Columbia. I've been there several times. And I'll tell you that when Ben was playing hockey, we went out there for several tournaments. One time several times we flew into Vancouver and then took a little plane over to the island. And then one time we put our car on a ship and rode it over there. It was kind of fun. It was a ferry. It wasn't a long trip, but we stayed with the car and over we went. But Vancouver Island has a lot of wildlife. Parts of that island are pristinely as they were hundreds of years ago. They have some ultimately beautiful parks there with lots of coastline. Now, the first case I'm going to talk to you about is a man named Dwayne Bressler, young man, 20 years old, July 26, 1977. He was from Wichita, Kansas. And he was with his sister and 3 friends vacationing. And they took a trail called Flower Ridge Trail. Very popular. And they hiked it, and they were getting to a place at about 5,300 feet. And they got to a place, and it was near a location called Green Lake. And if you look at it on a map, I'm going to show it to you in a second, but it is so pretty. And you get on this point where this is it. Have a good look at it. It sits down in a bowl. This is actually the view you have when you're on the trail looking down. And it's about a half-day hike, a series of switchbacks to get down to the lake from this position high up on this ridge. Well, Dwayne decides he's just going to bushwhack it straight down to the lake. And he was carrying a huge, some people said 100-pound backpack. And in the backpack, he had about 5 pounds of macaroni, and he had a small raft in it so they could go out on the lake. And they were fishermen, so he had fishing poles. But it was a popular trail. And Dwayne just decides to go straight down. So sister and the other friends decide to take the switchbacks down to the lake. And at the end of the day, they finally get there. They start setting up camp, and they notice that Dwayne's not around. So what happened was that they started to get nervous, and they waited 2 days for Dwayne, and he never did come back. So they hike back out, they call search and rescue. Well, multiple dog teams, 50 searchers, and 3 helicopters, a RCMP plane. All these teams get into that area and they start searching. And what they end up finding is 2 broken fishing poles near the bottom of the ridge where he was hiking, right next to a creek that's the outflow for Green Lake. And they search all over the area. They don't find anything more. So I want to show you this. This is a place called Buttle, B-U-T-T-L-E Lake. And Buttle Lake is very long, about 15 miles long. See the train back here? Great timing, huh? But there's Green Lake. You're going to see this map several times. And because it's going to show you a series of incidents that happened in this area. But Dwayne disappears right on the verge of Green Lake. It's about a 4-mile hike from here into an area where there's a campground and there's vehicle traffic getting into this region near Buttle. So they search for a week. They don't find anything. And there's tons of granite. They talk about point of separation. From the time he left his sister and friends, something happened. But they don't find his backpack, which had tons of gear in it. And they don't find any signs of animal predation, because the search and rescue people said, well, they would have found all this gear and things that he was carrying, which they never found. Now, the First Nations people had a net that was across Buttle Lake, right in this area, right in here. And in that net, about 2 weeks later, they found Dwayne's cap he was wearing. Now, there's a lot of reasons for just the cap being there. Maybe it flew off in the wind. They put divers in to this area looking for any evidence of his gear, which would have floated, obviously, because it was a raft. And they never found him, never found the gear, never found anything but the cap. And that is very bothersome to me when you understand everything about this area I'm going to explain to you. So the next case, September 29th, 2003. So Richard Milner, 43 years old, he's a mechanical engineer, described as brilliant. Lived in Edmonton, Alberta, the next province to the east of British Columbia. And he loved vacationing on Vancouver Island. And as I said, you could take the ferry over, take your car. That's what he did. And he had been to Strathcona Park, the location of Dwayne's incident, and the location of all 3 incidents in this presentation. Strathcona, S-T-R-A-T-H-C-O-N-A, Strathcona Provincial Park. Managed much like our national parks are, but this is a provincial park in British Columbia. Vancouver Island in British Columbia. So Richard parked his '98 Dodge Dakota truck in the parking lot at the Price Creek Trailhead. He was staying at the Ralph River Campground in Buttle Creek, or Buttle Lake rather. So he parked at the trailhead with the intent of going to Cream Lake. Now let's go through this. So, the map I showed you earlier, Cream Lake is just a mile away from Green Lake. He was camping here where his car was, and then he went to the trailhead and he hiked the 4 miles into here. So Dwayne disappears at Green Lake. Mr. Milner goes to Cream Lake. A mile apart. So if you want to know how beautiful this area is, I'm going to show you this. This is Green Lake, where Dwayne disappeared. Absolutely beautiful. This was taken in July. Gorgeous, gorgeous area. So keep that in mind. So, 2 locations, right next to each other, and 2 missing people. So, after a couple days, the provincial park police and the RCMP noticed that Richard's truck's parked there and nobody's coming to and from it, where it's a day hike zone. They run the license plate and they find a contact, which is a man named Tad Milner. And Tad is Richard's brother, and he's a professor at Simon Fraser University. They told Tad what happened. Tad immediately came out, and he said that his brother was extremely athletic, single, mentally extremely sharp, excellent backpacker and hiker, had been to this area many times, safety oriented, and he was the type of individual that would never take unnecessary chances. So this was considered a pretty easy hike, pretty mundane hike. And right away the searchers thought they were going to find him quickly. So they put a ground team of 50 people in there. It's 50 searchers, 3 helicopters, multiple canine teams, an RCMP plane, and they came up with nothing. They searched for 7 days. They came up with nothing. Now, when you think about what is the commonalities here, they're in a cluster zone of missing people, water, intellect, boulders. In Dwayne's case, also have point of separation. This happened September 29th, 2003. So 26 days earlier, there was a case on the opposite side of the country of Canada, way on the east coast. There was a man named Jimmy Rambone, and he was hunting way up in the northeast part of Canada. And he was hunting by himself, but he was staying with an outrigger type person, that outfitter type person that took a group of hunters, stayed in the same location, then you went out on your own to hunt. Jimmy went out on his own to hunt. Some people heard a shot. They weren't sure if it was Jimmy or not, but he didn't come back to camp that night. They sent out searchers, and all they found was his orange vest that he was wearing, his camera, and evidence that he shot something, and that was it. He was never found. Huge search. 26 days earlier on the opposite side of the continent. Thought it was weird. I wrote about each of these cases in detail. Now the next case is the weirdest of them all. And I really wish I would have met this lady, because she's exactly the kind of person I would love to go with somewhere. Her name was Sylvia Apps, 69 years old. July 13th, 2014 at 4 p.m. she was reported missing. Strathcona Park, same location. She was described as extremely fit for 69. Could hike 15 miles a day, no problem. Super smart, knew the outdoors really well, was the kind of person that you'd want leading your expedition. And she knew to be very well equipped. So, that's Sylvia. She was from Courtenay, British Columbia. Really, really good lady, loved the outdoors, loved to hike. Now, let's put the puzzle pieces together here for a second. She left to go hiking 5 days earlier on July 8th. And what she did is she summited a mountain called Castle Craigs right here. Now remember, Cream Lake, Green Lake. Here's where Milner disappeared. Here's where Dwayne disappeared. Here's where Sylvia disappeared. All in this circle of influence. All these little blue dots are lakes. If you're a follower of my work, I've told you before, in areas like this that have tons of lakes, you're going to have a series of unknown disappearances. And it doesn't matter if it's in the Sierras, the Cascades. It doesn't matter. For some reason, this is super common. So, Sylvia summits a mountain called Castle Craig. Now, how do they know? Because she signs the ledger box at the top of the mountain. This is what Castle Craig looks like. To me, right away, that mountain's trouble because it is solid rock. But she got up there and she was fine. So she left from a location called Paradise Meadows. And she told relatives that where she was going, what she'd be doing, when she'd be out. She carried 2 cell phones with her with extra batteries. She had a navigational trail guide, and she had everything you would need to be gone for 5 days safely in this region. She had done this many times before. And in telling people that she's not going to be back for 5 days, and if she doesn't come back to come get her or call search and rescue, the exact thing that they did. Her friends called search and rescue. And they were in there quickly. And the story around Sylvia describes it as mysterious, frustrating, mind-boggling, all the above. And you're going to go, well, why is that, Dave? Well, search and rescue went in, and on a ridgeline not far from Castle Craig Mountain, they find a series of her things spread out over a long distance. First thing they find is her camera laying on the ground. Then a long distance away, they find her backpack laying on the ground. Then another distance, they find her walking sticks laying there. And the Comox search and rescue person said, well, it appears that she lost her mind. No, Sylvia didn't lose her mind. Sylvia was a smart lady. Something happened. And when you see these things spread out like this, there's something really unusual that's happened, and I've written about this many times before. Now, there was a lady that was called the Queen of the Mountains, called Karen Sykes, and I did a video about her. She disappeared on June 18th, 2014. Sylvia disappeared July 13th, 2014. Karen disappeared at Mount Rainier National Park. She had written travel guides about the park. She was the last person on earth ever to disappear, and she did, with a friend. Friend says, I'm going back to the car, point of separation. She goes, I'm just going to hike up a little bit more. She disappears. She's found way over a ridge, over snow. It's impossible to get over it. She got over it. And she's found way on the other side. 285 miles between those disappearances. In Sylvia's case, they put 175 people on that mountain looking for her. And they did a great job. They found things that most people probably wouldn't have found. 3 helicopters, didn't see anything else on the ground other than what I mentioned. Her son said Sylvia was the optimum hiker and lover of the outdoors. So they put canines, 3 different teams up there. Where her items were found was obviously the place to pick up the scent, and they couldn't pick it up. What does that tell you? Water, lots of water in this area. Boulders, obviously. And it's a cluster zone of missing people. So the association of Richard Milner and Jimmy Rambo, the association of Sylvia Apps and Karen Sykes. Karen and Sylvia were almost the same age, almost the same personality. I'm going to pin the presentation I made on Karen Sykes and put it under that, on this comment right here, the first comment on this video, so you can watch it again. The head of Comox Valley Search and Rescue said that it was the first time in his long career that he never found somebody. So, Sylvia, not found. It's been 7 years, still hasn't been found, and thousands of people have gone through this area where she disappeared. I can't imagine what her sons are thinking right now. But I can guarantee she didn't lose her mind. And when the people start saying things like this, it's usually early in the search when they find something peculiar, and then they're thinking right away they're going to find the body. But if it was something bizarre, they would have found her. If they're claiming that she would have fallen, they would have found her. That scent trail would have went right to the edge of the cliff, and they could have put a helicopter up and located her. They didn't. Richard Milner, 43 years old. Again, these people, maybe in Richard's case, it would have helped if he had a personal locator beacon. In Sylvia's case, I don't think it would have helped. I think something really unusual happened. Jimmy Rambone disappeared on the other side of Canada. Maybe personal locator would have helped. It never hurts. These are just 3 cases on the island that I've talked to you about. There's many more I've written about missing 411 Canada. And it's kind of weird because to me, would have been a place. Strathcona is one of those places I've always wanted to go and hike into and go fishing. It's a little scary because they have a lot of bear and you can't carry a big gun in Canada. But in each of these instances, search and rescue has said that there's no predation, no evidence. Again, if there's predation, there's going to be a big scene, but the bear doesn't want your backpack. He'd probably tear your backpack apart looking for food. He's not going to want the actual frame that your backpack's on. He's not going to want your shoes. They're not going to eat that stuff. They're going to find it, and they didn't. So, strangeness. Please make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. I'll remind you again, please go back, and if you've read one of my books, give me a review on Amazon. If you've watched our movies, please give us a review on Amazon. Those help a lot. I'm going to let you look at this map again real quick. There's Sylvia. And there's our map. Cream Lake, Green Lake. That's where Milner was camping. This is the mountain that Sylvia, Castle Craig, where she summited and then disappeared. This is Buttle Lake. You can drive into this campsite where Mr. Milner was staying. And this is probably a hike I do. They said it takes about 4 hours to get into each one of these lakes. And it's a beautiful hike. If you look them up online, look up Cream Lake, Cream, or Green Lake. All right. Well, as usual, I'm very blessed that you came here and you watched the video. As you've been watching this, you've probably been seeing the sun going in and out over the mountains. Beautiful stuff. Thank you very much. I've had a lot of really, really nice people send me their thoughts about Ben and his place in heaven and the type of person he was. So, and as I've stated before, Ben had his own little YouTube channel, so you could look it up, Benjamin Paulides, and he reads scripture to you there in a very peaceful, warm way. Thank you again. There's really not a good scan I could give you of this because there's a big mountain, but I'll do it anyhow. Big mountain over here to our left. At least let you look at it. There's a big fire on that mountain about 5 or 6 years ago. And then same thing on this other mountain that's over here on my right. Glad the train went away. Went nice and blissfully quiet again. Kind of hear the crows in the background. Again, friends, thanks for keeping this village friendly and approachable by others. I've taken down a lot of comments in the last couple weeks, but I'll continue to do it and we'll keep this thing together. Thanks again, and you have a great week.